Since Sonadow seems to always be a hot topic in the Sonic fandom, why not make a whole video dedicated to it? Sonadow has been around ever since Shadow was introduced in Sonic Adventure 2 and started to become even more popular with the third Sonic movie that came out. I tend to find a gay ship early on when joining a new fandom and stick with it. I did that with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure with Jotaro and Kakyoin, as well as Mortal Kombat 1 with Johnny and Kenshi. Not sure how I always end up with the characters that are complete opposites of each other, but here we are. I wanted to make this video for many different reasons, the main ones being, I'm tired of having to explain myself, and I genuinely like them together. I was planning on having this video out before the end of Pride Month, but I procrastinate way too much, so it's a little late. Out of all the ships I've endorsed, I'd say this is the most important and life-changing one for me. I'm not sure how organized this video will be since it's mostly going to be me ranting, but I hope that you guys will be able to see why so many people enjoy this ship, and how it's not as forced as most people make it out to be. And like the disclaimer said, it's totally okay if you don't like this ship, but the reasons shouldn't be malicious. You can disagree with something and still be nice about it. Anyway, let's get started. Now, there are many reasons why people might ship them, but the main one is that they work well together. Even if you are strictly sticking to the games, you can see how much they actually care for each other. The haters always talk about them being rivals, but like I've said before, they don't seem to understand the difference between enemy and rival. I hate to sound like a broken record, but rival means when a person or thing is competing with another for the same objective or for superiority in the same field or activity. And an enemy is a person who is actively opposed or hostile to someone or something. It's very clear in their interactions that they have a rivalry because, to be honest, they both have big egos. They aren't doing the things they do out of hate, it's out of respect. And if we actually look at their relationship in the games, there is only one time where Sonic and Shadow are genuinely enemies, which is in the game Shadow was first introduced in. Sonic Adventure 2 still shows the growth in their relationship from being enemies to respecting one another, with Shadow even calling Sonic the ultimate life form, which is the biggest compliment you could ever get from Shadow. Every time Sonic and Shadow are in the same game, 9 times out of 10, they are helping each other even if it means them bickering here and there. If Shadow for real hated Sonic, he would have gotten rid of Sonic a long time ago. And if we look past the games, there are many instances where they care about each other. It doesn't matter that the Twitter takeovers aren't canon. It doesn't matter that they can be out of character. It doesn't matter. If the fact that these interactions are canon or not are so important to you, you don't know how to have fun. If the only thing you can talk about when consuming fan-made content is whether or not what they say or do is canon, is not the way to live, man. One of my friends told me something that I feel most people should live by. They said, canon is more of a suggestion/guideline, and when doing the fan works, it's better to have that mindset than to strictly follow canon. Yeah, sure, it's cool when the interactions are canon, but why does that matter in the long run? At the end of the day, Sonic the Hedgehog is for entertainment. It doesn't matter when or if things are canon. Yes, there are a lot of things that should be canon, and it is important to have major storylines have a set part in the timeline, but the fact that Sonic and Shadow care about each other or not shouldn't be this devastating to you guys. Sonic the Hedgehog is such a huge franchise with tons of characters and games with in-depth storylines and character growth, but all you care about is 2 guys being together? I think you need to rethink your life choices if that's your number one priority. Honestly, I could talk for hours on why they work so well together, but I'll shorten that for you guys. Where do I even start? If we look at them from a character design standpoint, they're a great contrast between each other, yet they still paired together well. Sonic is a bright blue with green eyes, while Shadow is black and red with deep red eyes. Their shape language perfectly shows their exterior personality, with Sonic feeling more round and Shadow more pointy. Looking past their character design, their personalities go well with each other, and it's very apparent that Sonic is able to bring out a side of Shadow that most of the cast can't get out of him. Even if Shadow seems annoyed with Sonic, he feels comfortable around him. You can see that in the way they talk in the Twitter takeovers and on TalesTube. Yes, they fight all the time, but if you look closer and have media literacy, you can see that they aren't being serious. They both put on a front of optimistic and gloom, but when you see them together, that almost fades. Sonic Prime is a great example of their relationship and how it can work perfectly. Even if they're lightly mischaracterized here, they still have the core fundamentals of who Sonic and Shadow are. Sonic thinking with his heart and Shadow thinking with his head. They're definitely close in this show, and there are many scenes where that is very apparent. Shadow is constantly worried about Sonic's well-being, even if he's stern about it. And it's not just this show either. Sonic 3 had one of the best scenes we've ever gotten out of them. They both are so open with their feelings and truly connect with one another in that scene. You cannot tell me that they're out of character because these aren't the same Sonic and Shadow from the games, since that's so important to most of you. Even with that, this is how Sega and Sonic Team seem to want to write the relationship with a lot of the content they push out with them. Again, I'd like to use the quote from their short story from the Sonic channel. If there is one thing that can be said about them, it is that they're both a rare presence that can seep into the other's inner depths. In fact, Sonic is the only person who can get so up close and personal with Shadow and say something to him that reaches his heart, though it often doesn't. In a sense, his kind of presence is troublesome, but it is also one of the most important ones. This perfectly describes the relationship. Yes, they fight. Yes, they annoy each other. Yes, they think differently. But at the end of the day, they want the same thing: to protect Earth and the people on it. Their relationship works because they are genuine. They feel real. They aren't perfect, and that's what makes it beautiful. Perfection, in my opinion, is one of the most sterile things you could want. The imperfections in the relationship is what makes it more intriguing. If they were perfectly made for each other with no flaws, this ship would be boring. They're each other's missing piece. Their souls are forever intertwined. Yeah, that's corny, but that doesn't matter to me. This franchise and this ship has changed my life for better and worse. This fandom is one of the most exhausting I've ever been part of, but I've also met and seen some of the most amazing things. This ship has given me a reason to keep creating, to keep pursuing my dreams. This sounds insane that Sonic the Hedgehog of all things has done this for me, but it has. Again, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for this franchise. Now, in the previous parts, I was already somewhat giving reasons why I like them, but I'll give more in-depth on what I mean. I like them together because it feels the most natural to me than Sonamy or Sonux or any other ship with Sonic. No hate to any of those ships, I just personally don't like them, but you can totally ship him with other people that are in his age range. The things that they've been through, they can easily relate with each other. That's what got Shadow to help Sonic in Sonic 3. Shadow finally sat down and processed what happened and asked Sonic to help him with those emotions. Don't get me wrong, I love the speech that Amy gives Shadow in SA 2, but this one feels more personal since they both lost someone close to them. I hate that I have to prove that they have a deep and genuine care for each other when it's right in your face. The Twitter takeovers, Sonic Prime, Sonic 3, literally any interaction they have. No matter what piece of media they're in together, you can see that they care. Shadow cares when Sonic is hurt in Sonic Prime. Shadow cares what happened to Sonic in Sonic Forces. Shadow cares. Another thing that I briefly mentioned is their character design. They literally are sun and moon, light and dark, day and night, yin and yang. That's one of my favorite character designs because the contrast between the two is so eye-catching. I also want to point out that 90% of the time, Sonic and Shadow are paired up with literally everything. Matching outfits, matching desserts, matching merchandise. They're always paired together. And yeah, that's most likely because they're the most popular, but the things that Sega and Sonic Team post on social media is very suspect. I love that they know about the Sonadow shippers and are totally okay with it. They like to share art of it and will hint at it sometimes. Every universe that they're in, they end up together, and I find that to be so beautiful. They're soulmates in every possible universe. This video was a nice break from the longer videos that I've been posting. Not sure how much this convinced anyone, but I had fun ranting about this ship and how important it is to me. It's genuinely life-changing with the stories I've read and the artwork I've seen of them. They will forever be intertwined with my soul, and no amount of hate could ever stop me from creating ship art of them. The hate honestly just inspires me more in doing what I love, and the wonderful community I've built because of them is amazing. I know I say this all the time, but the ones that are here for my art and what I have to say are the most important to me. No matter how many followers I get, you guys will be the closest to my heart. I'm not sure when or what I'll talk about next, but I hope that you keep being you no matter what people say. You are important to me. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in a few.